Hello, and welcome to Adapting and Adopting, a podcast. Adapting and adopting is a mediated feature of conversations with older adults in our communities. Over the series of this podcast, I will feature interviews with 8 individuals in largely their raw and uncut form, providing context when needed, but really providing older adults with a voice of their own. Before we begin, it is important to situate ourselves within the community, specifically Saddle Ridge, Taradale, and Martindale. These are 3 communities with over 60% immigrant populations, largely coming from India, the Philippines, and Pakistan. Most of the people living in these communities are young, working age, and as such, older adults are often left out of community conversations. My name is Joshua DeGuglielmo, and I am an undergraduate researcher at the University of Calgary. Being a lifetime resident of Saddle Ridge, having volunteered at the Saddletown Public Library and the Saddle Ridge Community Association, I saw these gaps firsthand. What started out as a research project under the supervision of Dr. Aisha Mian Akram in the sociology department, focusing on older adults' experiences with technology, grew beyond what we could have imagined, into conversations of life, community change, and finding place in community. Over the summer of 2025, I conducted interviews with community members and leaders at the Genesis Center, the University of Calgary, and in their own homes. The following interviews were recorded with the consent of the participants and approval of the Research Ethics Board that this podcast was going to be produced, and seeks to represent the community members as they represented themselves, honestly and in their own words. Welcome back to our second episode. Today features a conversation with Greg Steiner. Greg is a pillar of the community who has lived in Saddle Ridge from the time it was a mere number of acreages until now. Greg's work has been instrumental in the building and founding of the Genesis Center. Alongside his wife, Carol, the two served on the Saddle Ridge Community Association for many years, and the two adapted as the community rapidly shifted in its structure and demographics. Although this interview does not feature as heavily on the aspects of technology, Greg provides an interesting case study. He showcases adoption in new and surprising ways, often centered on his community and family. Throughout this interview, Greg shares with us his life, but most telling are the stories of how community is found in Northeast Calgary. As an advocate for seniors, Greg recently was awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal for his efforts in community building in Saddle Ridge. In the following interview, Greg shares the highs and lows of advocacy work, converging to the creation of a legacy that lasts well into the future.
Well, Joshua, I'm happy that you're here. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for quite a few years, and welcome very much to my home.
Thank you very much for having me. Would you like to introduce us to yourself?
I am Greg Steiner, former president of Saddle Ridge Community Association. I came here over 45 years ago into Saddle Ridge when it was nothing more than 75 acreages. But we were a community association since 1968. And as a matter of fact, back in 2018, we celebrated our 50th anniversary with a huge celebration at Genesis Center, and every dignitary that you can think of, because I can't help campaign on many of the dignitaries, was there for the occasion. Over 400 people, probably closer to 450 people, were there enjoying a wonderful dinner, and except Mayor Naheed Nahanshi, he had to go to Korea to fight for the Olympics, which didn't happen. But at any rate, that's aside. I thought this a humorous little remark. But a lot of things have happened in Northeast Calgary since I arrived in 1979.
What has been the biggest change over those years?
Probably myself. The biggest change, and everybody knew it was happening, was the influx of the ethnic people, the multicultural people, beautiful people that started coming and moving into some unoccupied acreages or buying off some acreages. And so back in 1994, I realized that the needs of these people won't be met by what we as a rural community association had to offer. We were very farm oriented. We had horses, cows, had horse, cow, chicken, rabbits, had all those types of things on my acreage, only 2 blocks away. And back in 2006, I sold the acreage, and having looked all over the city, I could have moved anywhere. Chose this house right in the very middle of Punjabi land. I love multicultural motif. That's why I'm here, and I'll probably be here for some time. I witnessed and I was part of the move to the Genesis Center from our Saddle Ridge Community Hall, which you probably are aware of on Métis Trail there. Anyway, the city approached me and said, "Hey, we're building a big highway right through your community. Have you thought of moving into what the designers have planned for this area?" And it was Saddletown Circle. And so would you like 4 acres at Saddletown Circle for a community hall and the like? And we jumped at the opportunity. Things didn't get moving until the year 2000. My vision was a multicultural educational resource center to fit the bill for what Northeast Calgary really needed. We didn't have anything like what we have here. And so that would require a lot of money. So I gave talks at the University, Calgary, SAIT, Mount Royal, and Bow Valley College. That was 1994, 95. To make it short, all of them turned me down except Bow Valley College. And we signed an MOU. They wanted 12 classrooms to be able to teach undergraduate courses in the new high school that was planned, which, by the way, is Nelson Mandela now. But public system felt they didn't have room for 12 classrooms for Bow Valley College, and that didn't work. Mount Royal College tried a pilot course at Lester B. Pearson, and it didn't work out. And SAIT was into cyber technology, and University of Calgary wanted $4 million to be able to sit down and talk. I think we had $200 in our account at Saddle Ridge Community. And the city knew we wouldn't get utilities. We had no fresh water piped in. We were on our own well, and it was non-potable. So I hauled in water for every single occasion. We had our own septic field, which was off and on, and the roads weren't attractive. So nonetheless, I held a survey amongst the 80-some acreages, and over 85% of those acreages voted in favor of moving to Saddletown Circle. And so that's what happened. And as the city was planning this town center, I got a knock on my acreage door. It's only 2 blocks away from here, 4 acres. Now there are 35 homes on it. And the CEO of the YMCA wanted to talk. And so that's where things started. Wonderful people that we worked with, and we had dozens and dozens of meetings at my home to get this thing going. And that was in the year 2000. So it took a while. We began our fundraising a few years later, holding on to the shirt tails of the YMCA. And we found out that our dream, our vision, our view of what we needed for Northeast residents, and that would be Taradale, Martindale, Falcon Ridge, Saddle Ridge, was not that exactly that of the Y. They had a box store mentality, and we needed more room than what we were offered. So we stepped aside, and we still worked with the YMCA, did a lot of work with them, but we hired a consultant, and we raised $50 million. I was on that committee. And then later, after the corporate campaign was over, I took over the public campaign. And I was sitting in what was once the Safeway, is now Chalo, and an ATB co-op, and all of those stores were close with the model of the Genesis Center in front of me. And I collected well over $100,000 just doing that in 1 year. So I was happy to do it because I had retired. I taught 34 years. I didn't want to stop. So I had the energy. And by the time 2005 came along, we had gone to many different organizations in Northeast Calgary. That is the Southeast Asian Organization, Pakistani, Kashmiri, Filipino Association, and they occupy a lot of Saddle Ridge community inhabitants. We're well over probably 65% ethnic in Saddle Ridge. That's wonderful. I absolutely love to see their dress, especially the people from Africa and Jamaica that live here. And we have to be very grateful for those people. And I wanted to be around them. And they were a great contribution to a global community that we needed. We broke ground in 2010 and we opened our doors in January 2012. It has been almost 14 years now since Genesis has been open, and over 2 million people go to Genesis each year. Now, what has that done to the acreages? Well, that I used to live on, and here in Saddle Ridge, we'd look and see the city, and in the mountains, there were no homes. There were dugouts, for cattle and pastry grains. I feel that this whole venture of working on Genesis Center, I'm called the founder of Genesis Center. My wife, she's the founder. All the work she has done, she's a stalwart support for me. Carol is her name, led to breaking of ground and then the opening date where almost every dignity in the province was there. We did reach the goal of 50 million. No other community association or Taradale and Martindale were with us on this. No other set of community associations were able to raise that much money for their either upgrading or building of their recreational center, and Vivo included. And of course, Village Square Leisure Center is a city-run. These are community association founded. It's a community. So we took the name of Northeast Center of Community Society and we moved on that. It is still Northeast Center of Community Society, and we are in partnership with the library, which, by the way, is such a terrific, beautiful, renovated place. I taught the manager. And then, of course, the Y with the beautiful pool, fitness center, and a track. But the largest space by far, over 50%, is the NECCS space. And since we opened up, we added on another 60,000 square feet for our event center. The utilization rate for anybody in Northeast Calgary is over 87%. The utilization rate. So that's a feather in our cap. Yep. We're so happy that, and we do have a educational center there located in the community wing. It's called Academy of Learning. And we have had in the past different other organizations that had undergraduate courses being offered, but then they expanded and they needed a lot more space. Now, lastly, and I'll finish, in conjunction with that community space is 10,000 square feet. We cooperate by leasing space to Trellis Foundation, which was once Aspen Group and Boys and Girls Club. It's very popular. And we also serve abused women, legal services, immigrant services. We offer anything that a newcomer really needs or anybody needs in Northeast Calgary. That is really well used. If you were to go to Genesis Center, there is nothing like it. And I'll conclude with a statement that many people that have come to see me and a lot of other people who've worked on this, there's nothing like this in Western Canada. When we opened up and the success, and people ask, how in the world did we ever do it? And in conclusion, it just takes a lot of work, a lot of help. It's more than just myself. It takes hundreds of people, great consultants and champions for the cause. That's what we had. There wasn't a place that I didn't go to give a talk. Now, the name Genesis, of course, is from the Genesis Land Corporation, which owns a great deal of property here in Northeast Calgary, a good portion of which still hasn't been developed on the east side of Stony Trail. But they are just finishing off Saddlestone. That's a Genesis development. So they agreed for X number of millions of dollars to have the title sponsor for the name. And that runs out in a year or so. And now we're in the works to see if they would like to renew it. Everybody knows what the Genesis Center is that has been there once. Mm-hmm. People have come from all over Canada to use our place as a template for what they want to do. When we first opened up, we were both the governance and the management. Now, the board of directors is the governance. We hire and fire the chief. And we pass a budget and make sure that all the things that happen there are part of the mandate vision, involves resilience, openness, and a set of different kinds of qualities that makes Genesis what it is.
That is so cool. Would you like to talk a little bit more about working with the library specifically to create the Genesis Center?
Well, the library in Saddle Ridge was a van and went around. It was a little stressful because the library was on their budget, and yet they knew the demand for use was higher than what probably the city can afford. They're funded by the city, but as it turned out, the library agreed, and we went into a partnership where each of the three partners, the Y, the library, and NECCS, agreed to take care of their own in-skin. They would foot the bill, and that was good news. Yeah. Now, we had actually it's close to 50%. The Y has 10%, I think. I can't remember how it was. It's not important. No. I can't recall, but we had the majority of the in-skin. And then the partnership worked out so well that the two other partners, besides the Y and the library, agreed that NCSS would take care of the outer skin of the 24 acres. Yeah.
Wow.
So we do all of that. And of course, I would assume I'm not in the management portion, that's all taken care of financially by the partners. And it's been a very successful venture. We ended up with $120 million. We raised $50 million, just under, maybe 47 million initially. The Y raised a few million, and the library came under the title of Shirt Tails of the City. It's a city thing. Yeah. It's city land, and we lease it every year for I think 25 years and then lease it again. We went from a Caucasian community to what is now an ethnic community. And we really treasure that. And I could probably talk all day about the importance of fulfilling the needs of the ethnic community. When we opened up Genesis, there were over 57 different ethnic groups. Now there are probably close to 90, 95, if I'm not mistaken. The people that come there to exercise and play games and the rest, you go in there, the people playing cards, the place, the commons area in the very middle is jam-packed with people enjoying themselves. That's what we want. That's what that's for. We are like a magnet.
Would you care to speak a little bit about people who are over 50 in our community?
We have, I pushed hard for this, the presence of seniors at Genesis Center. And so Alberta Health, and it wasn't just me, it was a Genesis Center, opened up their track to active adults. It was a primary mosaic, and we had as many as 180, I counted one day, 180 seniors. I mean, these are seniors walking the track and socializing in one day from 9 to 12. Alberta Health drew their support for active adults. I don't know why they did, but I wrote a letter complaining about how this could possibly happen, since this kind of activity keep people out of the hospitals, which is much more expensive. But Alberta withdrew, and so Genesis, out of its own kindness, took it over. And so we have active adults coming back again. So that was during COVID. And so it was closed, for some time. Now they are coming back, and there's active fitness classes. There's generally a fitness instructor and a nurse on hand. There used to be. I'm not sure now. I haven't been there for some time because of my situation. We have a lot of seniors that go to our community wing for help and instructions. The Y teaches English as a second language. They do a wonderful job, the YMCA. They have English as a second language classes. So Saddle Ridge has come a long way from a rural community in 1968 to a community that works within the scope and the objectives, the mandate of the Genesis Center. We assist in this regard by funding them drop-in centers and our seniors with our casino funds that we have. Not all of it, but a good portion of it goes for drop-in admissions for young people. And I could speak about Genesis all day. It's my pride and joy. But Saddle Ridge is how it started. It started there because neither Taradale nor Martindale had a hall. They had no hall. We had the leverage, and although we didn't stay on with the Y because our vision was different, our cooperation with Y has been excellent.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about your time as the head of the Saddle Ridge Community Association.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. That's over 45 years ago. It's 1979. I settled on an acreage 2 blocks from my present house, and within 6 months, a head of the membership committee asked me if I'd collect membership on my street. The very next year, I was in charge of membership committee. And then Saddle Ridge was experiencing financial problems for various reasons. So I took over the treasurer's position for years and then became president. I served as president for many years there. And if you were to go into the lower level, there's a big hutch, a trophy, and on it there are names of people who sat on the executive since 1968, and your mother's on there.
Yep.
I miss Angie. I haven't seen her in many years. She sort of dropped out of sight. Nonetheless, it was an experience I should never and will never forget. And my wife was treasurer for many, many years. The time I spent in Saddle Ridge community led to instances where the Calgary Herald would interview us, as a rural community with a Quonset for a community hall. In 1970, that community hall went up. It took about a year for it to get all finished, and it was rented out. And then I took over the rental as president. Nobody could come forward. I was close to retirement at the time. We did fine. If I had to do it over again, I'd do it.
Awesome.
Maybe tweak it a bit. How's that, Josh?
I think that's great.
Yeah. But Carol and I, we could have moved anywhere in the city, and we chose this place because of the ethnic flavor. And I love it. I love my garden.
Yeah.
I work in my garden. If you were to stand up and look up outside, you see those purple flowers?
They're beautiful.
Yeah,
they're
clematis.
gorgeous.
And I have a beautiful vegetable garden and a greenhouse over here on the other side
No
of
way.
this house.
That's so cool.
And then a rose garden over here, and then more flowers. But at any rate, I'm a flower nut. A plant nut. I worked in a nursery when I was in high school.
Cool.
And on my acreage, I had thousands of trees, 1,000 Colorado blue alone on 4 acres. They were little tiny things. Then I start selling them at 4 to 5 feet. I did all of that.
Yeah.
Now, the listeners on the podcast wouldn't be very interested, but that was very important to me. I had to keep myself busy in the summer months, so Saddle Ridge Tree Farm was my option.
So how long have you worked in the community then?
Over 45 years.
45 years.
1979, I was here.
Wow.
And within 6 months, I was collecting members.
They put you to work right away.
Yeah. The website for Saddle Ridge Community has some errors in it. It has 1989, but it's really 1968. And in 2018, we celebrated our 50th anniversary. There's some other mistakes on the website, but that's what happens with technology.
Yeah,
Mistakes are made.
exactly.
And all the other Martindale, Terradale, Falcon Ridge, Castle Ridge came after Saddle Ridge. I had nothing to do with the name, but I was a very close friend of the first president, Hugh Bennett, after whom was named Hugh Bennett Grade School in Saddlestone.
Mhm.
And that's fine.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, I know you were, I don't know if it was you necessarily, but the newsletters that were sent out to the community.
Oh, okay. You do with what you had. I had a typewriter, and my wife runs office services where she does that. She had a big, huge Canon printer, did many things. So I typed out the newsletter every month, printed it off, stapled it, and took my car and delivered it to 80 mailboxes, the newsletter. And then after that, after the year 2000, houses started to be built in Saddle Ridge, the first phase. I left stacks of newsletters off for people, and it was all free. We did that for nothing. And in those newsletters, since you asked, I had tips for different things, not just gardening and items of interest, but I was called Bylaw Buddy to help people from the ethnic communities understand what the bylaw is. And that was a now then NECS took over the magazine newsletter, put it into a small magazine that featured both Terradale, Martindale, and then it went.
Yeah.
It went viral. And then it went digital. So you can take a look at whatever news Saddle Ridge has to offer on the computer. It's all done. But there's usually about 500 or so placed on the little stands in the university, hard copies of the newsletter.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that. You weren't involved then in the making of the newsletter in the later iterations of it.
Not after, no, the president of the community association had to do that. I forget when I stepped down.
That's fair. That's okay. Wasn't it in like 2011 2011, 2010-ish range?
Probably could have
Yeah.
been. I haven't been, I stepped down from the board of Saddle Ridge some years ago. I couldn't do it.
What led you to stepping down?
Health. But I'm still here.
Yeah. And that's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish there was more I could talk to you about. And I regret that when I go up and sit down in my lazy boy, oh, there are 5 or 6 other things I should have told him. I should have told Joshua, he's such a fine guy.
Aw.
He should know. But moved from a low tech to sort of a great technological move at Genesis. They led us on. We could not do what Genesis does. We cannot hire certified coaches to coach soccer
Mm-hmm.
and also have this base
Mm-hmm.
available. We couldn't possibly do that. But here it was. Genesis had all that personnel. Calgary Minor Soccer was a founder, gave us $1 million. There are other organizations that gave us a lot of money. We raised a lot. I had a lot of help. I had great consultants from the city and from, we hired on to help us do things. And we met once a week or once every 2 weeks in a hotel, and we fleshed out, well, what's the A category, B category, C category of people who are great targets to help us along. So that's what we did, and we were successful.
So what would you say is the biggest technological shift you've seen, both as a Genesis or in your personal life?
Well, I can't live without my computer. I have to have it. I like my iPhone, smartphone. I just can't, I don't carry it around with me. When I was gardening all the time, it'd fall out. And so I didn't use it, but I use it all the time. The technological aspect of how to run a multicultural recreational center like Genesis it's astounding, simply astounding. And I, of course, along with other members in Saddle Ridge and other communities, have left that for Genesis to do. But technology, let it come, use it. That's where I agree. I'm all for it. Now, many of the newcomers, they're not technologically advanced, so they have computer classes at the library, and they have other classes to enhance people's use of the technology that they need to get along in this world. It's extremely important.
Do you feel like people are taking advantage of these resources that are available to them?
Yes and no. Yes, to the people who possess jobs, who have an occupation. No, to the people they sponsor, like grandpa and grandma. They don't speak English, and they're not interested in it. However, I should be careful. There are exceptions to this. The senior citizens are not exactly in the ethnic group. They come over and they're already 70 years old. Is my impression. They don't. When they sit out in the driveway in the sunlight, they aren't on their iPhone. And I say, "Sasurigal," or "Kiol." That's a blessing. Hello, how are you? And I love doing that because it breaks barriers. That's all I could say about the technological aspect. I'm not a tech person like my children are. Very tech. This is largely the Jalan Punjabi area in here. However, there are many Pakistani, and the Filipinos are the most rapidly growing community in Northeast Calgary. If you go all the way down to McKnight, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They really are rapidly growing community. Beautiful people.
Oh, yeah.
Saddle Ridge has given thousands of dollars for a partial construction of Live Christ's LRT station. Saddle Ridge Close, the playground there, and Saddle Ridge School on Saddle Crest Boulevard as you head up. We gave them $5,000 each time, and then we helped build.
So you mentioned a bit that your children are very technologically savvy, and You're not the expert, but you've been using for quite a while. So what has been the biggest like shift for you? And like, would you say that there's like barriers for you as well?
Well, the biggest shift is not to use landline.
Yeah.
I text, whereas my wife does a couple other tweet or I do messenger.
Mm-hmm.
My son, of course, PhD in philosophy of science, he's employed as a cyber analyst. And my daughter-in-law is there too. And my daughter is an accountant, so she's very high tech. And my son-in-law is high tech. And I don't know what else to say. You're getting off the Saddle Ridge bit. But, am what I am. Yeah. And people have to accept me.
Yeah, you were the whole package. Honestly, we're a bit off Saddle Ridge bit for a reason because it's fascinating to know about you and who you are too. And
I was football coach for 25 years, total 3 in the States, and then 22 here at St. Francis. Head football coach for 20 here. Love the kids. Get home late on my farm to feed the chicken and the rabbits and my steer. I had a steer every year. But that was life. I kept going.
So where did you grow up? Sorry, I don't believe we mentioned that.
I was born in Visalia, California, 1938. I'll be 87 in a few weeks.
That's so exciting.
Moved to Oregon, where I finished my grade school and high school education. And then I entered a seminary. I was a Jesuit for 19 years. It's on the back of the cover of one of the books. Fell in love, applied for a job. I left the Jesuit community, took a job offer in Calgary. Been here ever since. All my relatives are in the States.
Oh, wow.
Oregon, mostly.
Wouldn't go back.
No, my home.
Yeah.
The people I walk with at Genesis Center, these people, they speak English.
Yeah.
Very well. And they're well educated. And I've developed, I won't say hundreds of relationships, but many, many relationships. And we have always a great conversation. We socialize at Genesis Center, but I haven't done that for a couple of years now because of my illnesses. Yes, that isn't to say these people that are sitting in the driveway and in the sun, I wish, aren't very good people. They are. They're very good people. It's just that I haven't learned their language.
Fair.
There are too many languages.
Yeah.
And the Jamaican, the Eritrean, the Somalian, the Sudanese, beautiful people. Nigerian, the Iraqi, and I even bought groceries from Safeway from a clerk that was from Iran. Of course, many Hindus. They're here in Northeast Calgary, and their celebrations, by the way, coincide with Punjabi. They sort of do. So you'll hear firecrackers and everything going on. That's not just Hindu celebration, it's Punjabi too. And Sikh celebrations. I love them, and I'm so happy that I'm living with them.
That's so good to hear. Greg, these are kind of the end of my questions for you.
Yeah.
It's been a bit all over the place.
I sort of wandered all over the place.
But that's good. Was there anything else you'd like to add, especially like regarding maybe older people in our community?
I'm glad they're here.
Good.
I'm glad they're here. They have a high presence.
Yeah.
And of course, remember, Josh, it's a 3-generation home. These are big homes. So grandma and grandpa live along with mom and dad who work, and then the children. So I am really happy that I have had some influence on how they make use of the Genesis Center.
You have. Well, I'm so grateful to have interviewed you, Greg. Thank you so very much for having me in your lovely home and for being willing to talk to everyone.
You're very welcome.
Greg provides a fascinating look back to our community. Through this interview, he profiles the shift from a rural community to one of the largest ethnic communities in Calgary, as well as his and his own wife's work in founding the Genesis Center. To Greg, the two are synonymous. Every question about the community was grounded to the Genesis Center, as he so eloquently put, that Saddle Ridge works under the scope and the objectives, the mandate of the Genesis Center. Although this interview did not yield much for the technological side of this research, Greg, having learned mass-scale printing for the community newsletter, still actively uses his email and the internet to stay up to date in the community. For Greg, community is at the center of everything. I thank you for listening, and a massive thank you to Greg for his participation and to his wife, Carol, for allowing us to use their dining room to record this episode. In our next episode, we will feature interviews from Harneet, who is attempting to migrate to Canada and live in Saddle Ridge, and Satya, who has lived in Canada for 20 years with her children and grandchildren, as we explore the practices and experiences of non-working migrants in our communities. Thank you.